about the SALAD project, which stands for the Salinas Air Shower Handling and Discovery Project. And but before I talk about that, I want to talk about Salinas, or our institution. Our institution is in Salinas, California. It's a salad bowl of the world, and it's also the birthplace of John Steinbeck, of the Nobel laureate. And Salinas is also one of the backdrops for many of his novels like Grapes of Wrath or East of Eden or Mice and Men. And our college serves about 10,000 students, and about half of them are Latino and Latina. And because of that, Hartnell is a Hispanic serving institution. Because Hartnell is a Hispanic serving institution, we were eligible for the Title V grant, and this has allowed us to do many great things. For example, here on the left, there's a picture of us at Adriaan imaging the nanoparticles that we're synthesizing. And on the right shows us actually doing the SALAD project, or components of the SALAD project. And in part of the SALAD project, there was this 8-week intensive physics research internship where students learned the components of like the things that we were going to teach in SALAD. The SALAD project, what it is it's a high school outreach program that Hartnell has to get students who are interested in STEM into STEM. And so what we do is that we teach what we learned to the students. And the setup is that we have two, or at least in this one, we have two photon detectors, and that get triggered by a cosmic ray and then is fed to a comparative circuit board, which fires when there's a coincidence. And then that coincidence is read to, or sent to an Arduino to count how many coincidences we get. And right here is an example of that detector. Here's the scintillator, which captures the cosmic ray, and here's the detector that gets the in my portion, what I would be doing is that I would work with a circuit board. So whenever there was a coincidence, which means when when both comparators are triggered, the AND logic trigger would be fired, and then we'd get. And this right here is just an example of what kind of pulses we would get. There's the input for the first comparator, the second one, and there's the output. Right here, the output for the comparators, and right here is the AND logic gate, which tells us there's a coincidence, and this is a probe to show us the output of one of the comparators.
So this is the circuit that we'll be having the high school students build. It's comprised of a very sensitive light detector here. This is actually 3 by 3 millimeters, so it's very delicate. I think we're going to have to find something a little bit easier for beginners to work with. But this is part of an outreach project, so we have to prototype something that they'll be capable of building. In the interest of developing our workforce in this country, we want to develop skills like this early. This here is a circuit, the power supply circuit, which actually provides the power for this detector circuit. All of this will be put into a box that the students actually have to make themselves, and it involves some drilling holes and just some fabrication skills using the drill press and soldering iron. Reading a schematic. So that's the power supply there. You can see these are discrete components, so it's not too small so that it's frustrating to deal with. We're trying to welcome them into science, so we're trying to build a kit and have a set of instructions where the students can follow and actually build something, and then immediately be able to start detecting cosmic rays, which is free. They're going through our bodies at all times during the day, and to introduce students through cosmic rays into science is a perfect opportunity with the solid-state detectors, which we have been characterizing to see if they can replace photomultiplier tubes. It is now cheap enough for us to allow students, high school students, to attempt to build these things. PMTs, photomultiplier tubes, are $1,000 each. You know, if a student breaks that, it's going to be a bad day. These are, $50 each, or even cheaper. They're getting cheaper all the time, so it's okay if a student breaks it in the interest of learning. And then they have to, of course, mount the components and test the circuitry afterwards.
So what I come into the project is, I also want to be able to allow students to take the data and count the coincidences as we present. So in my experiment, it involved testing if we could replace our NIM module counter with an Arduino to do the exact same job. That involved testing using a function generator and a trigger to set it to 1 Hz, viewing what the wave looked like to mock cosmic ray coincidence, and then reading it into Arduino set. One of the first hurdles I had to jump was the Arduino requires, according to the manufacturer, 100 microsecond pulse width signal, which we don't normally get out of the comparators and the AND gate. So we had to lengthen the pulse width, and using that idea, we also want to make sure the Arduino does read, and at a 1 Hz frequency, I should read 100 counts in 100 seconds, and my data showed exactly that. So once I was able to confirm that the Arduino reads at that rate, this is the final setup that they would try to create themselves. We would just have a diagram of how they would wire all of this up. The signal would be read into the Arduino, sending signals to the MAX7221 display driver, and then display the digits onto the display. This would also involve teaching some of them how to code. So Arduino has its own kind of language. It's very similar to C, C++. And they would just the Arduino works with simple 4 pins and a ground. Whenever this pin would trigger pin 2, count goes up by 1. And each of those digits from 1 to 4 are displayed individually to the MAX7221 display driver. And then the display driver will communicate based off of these commands what numbers to display in each section. And these are the waves that are, or the commands being sent by the Arduino to the driver, and then compare them as well with what the manufacturer said it should accept, and it all works great.
And so this is the setup project that we're trying to create. And actually, last week we actually went to one of the high schools and we gave a talk on the setup project, and we already are getting students who are interested in participating in the setup project. So we're really excited to bring it to our community and hope we do the best. Thank you.
Questions?
Okay, so when I was in school, if we had like anything extra to do out of our regular courses, we would shirk it off. We wouldn't want to get anywhere near it. So is this something extra, or is it going to be part of the curriculum, or?
Well, it's something that the students volunteer for. They have to sign up for it if they're interested. So, you can sign up for it, but, I think we're interested in the things that we like.
I would also add to that, we kind of entice them with the idea of free lunch. And also, I think we're also providing a generous stipend for their few hours of
You might have said it, I might have missed it, but how do you work in pairs or individually?
I believe that they're really working in groups.
I think just it depends on which high school instructor wanted to be our kind of liaison to the high school and how they would interact with their students.
Other questions?